let me shift here, and I just want to talk a little bit about silence. Silence, my sisters and brothers, has many dimensions. There is a sacred silence, which is that silence out of which creative contemplation grows. It's a meditation on the word and the will of God. It's the silence out of which we meditate and get closer to God. It's the silence in which fervent prayer is born. There is a sacred silence. But then there's a seething silence that comes when you are quiet externally, but you've got a storm going on the inside. The late Dr. Howard Thurman called that a noisy quietness. But then finally, and here's the silence I want to get to, there is a sinful silence. And Adam's silence falls into this category because a sinful silence is a silence that comes over you when you ought to say something, but you don't say nothing at all. It is that silence that creeps in when you ought to speak up for God, but you sit there acting like you don't know what God said. My sisters and brothers, I fear that Adam was not only silent on that fateful day in the garden when a serpent showed up, but Adam has remained silent through the centuries. When Africans were captured and taken from their homeland, packed in the hulls of ships, sold on auction blocks, beat and killed and misused and kept in shadow slavery, Adam was silent. When Jews were persecuted, deported, and murdered by Nazis, Adam was silent. When Native Americans were slaughtered in the acts of genocide so their land could be taken from them, Adam was silent. When our ancestors were lynched and called boy and girl, even though they were full grown, when they were denied employment and equal access to resources, Adam was silent. And today, far too often, when our boys are shooting and killing each other on the streets, and our girls suffer from low self-esteem and give birth to children whose daddies won't stay around to take care of them, Adam is still silent. Sisters and brothers, there is a sinful silence among us when injustice is raging and we remain quiet. When people are aching, when people are hurting, when babies are crying and dying of hunger and not having enough love from insufficient care, and we remain silent, that is a sinful silence. When the church looks and sees what's going on in its communities, and not just in its communities, but what's going on right there in the household of faith, and we sit there and act like we don't know what's going on, that is a sinful silence. And let me suggest that there's a time when silence is sinful. And here in the text, we see a snake talking to Adam's wife. Adam remains silent. Adam should have said something. My sisters and brothers, the nation is waiting for somebody to say something. Go on, touch your neighbor and tell him you ought to say something. You see them boys on the corner, you ought to say something. You see what's happening with those sisters. I'm not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and them. I'm talking about the saints' children. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here today. You ought to say something. The classroom is waiting for somebody to say something. Youth violence is waiting for somebody to say something. Every community, every city, every town, every home, every boy, every girl, every family is waiting for the church to break the silence. And if we don't break the silence, let me tell you what's going to happen. If we don't break the silence, we end up embracing the appeals of the serpent. What are the appeals of the serpent? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Bless the name of the Lord. Somebody gotta tell themselves it's all right if you got it now. Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You've got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. .7 WTCC. Back with you. Welcome to the spoken word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And here we are, still on the spoken word. Been with you since 8 a.m. Was filling in for Mr. Kenneth Barnett on The Promise. Had a very important segment during the last hour with Mr. Charles Stokes, who was talking about the Good Trouble rally that is taking place in Springfield on Saturday. And y'all need to be there. Bottom line, you need to be there. You need to be there, okay? Listen, from Ferguson to George Floyd, and white America is still in denial. That's what we're talking about today. Tell a friend, tell somebody, Bishop is on the earth right now. Okay? Those of you who are coming in on social media, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. You know, I want to know those, both those in the Pioneer Valley and those outside of the Pioneer Valley. Let me know where you're chiming in from. 413-337-1867. After the early break, we'll open the phone lines right up. We'll open them right up and get your thoughts on the subject matter. Once again, 413-337-1867. Good morning, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Foundational Black American on the Gram. The Gram is tuning in, y'all. I got Columbus, Mississippi. All right. That's where my people is from. They're from Mississippi. I got the ATL on the Gram tuning in. Where y'all at? Facebook? Where y'all at? Twitter? Where y'all at? YouTube? Where y'all coming in from? Need to know. Holler at your boy. 413-337-1867. Listen. Don't you go absolutely nowhere. We'll be right back. All right. And I mean right back. Stay with us.
Is for all the brothers that passed, but more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember my sister gave me the call and I was in awe. Matter of fact, it felt the farthest from reality. She seen somebody post RIP with his name and I said I doubt it's the same friend I had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check and called me back. Said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling lonely and weak. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of. Cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. Just under 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was hard. He was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst feeling is knowing that you would leave us in all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. Cause that information I wouldn't have ever imagined. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it, now I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, was born the son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do mine with rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me. It started off with little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public, cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, isn't that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me. But please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Don't discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't pointing fingers, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all, because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it, now I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Looking back on it, now I see all the drive that it gave me. So glad that it made me. Yeah, baby. Yeah, it made me.
90.7 WTCC. That's T Swan. T Swan, my son, my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. I need y'all to go check his music out. I need y'all to go get that anywhere you stream. I need y'all to check out all this stuff. He got some new stuff out, the Cookout. is his newest jam. So I need y'all to check him out. Good morning to my baby girl. She's not a baby. She's a grown woman with a husband and children and all of that. But she's all the way from the Shy shouting out her daddy. Good morning, Whitney. And to all of my grandbabies, my Chi-Town grandbaby. I saw some other cities and towns coming in here. Angela Thorpe, I'm on the same bat channel every Monday. Why do you have to look for me? Put me on notifications. All right, all of y'all that tune in, put me on notifications. I'm Bishop Talbert Swan page. I'm gonna be there. All right, as long as Facebook don't start taking my page down again, but I'll be there. All right. So just same place. Mother Valerie Fields, the supervisor of the women's department of Nova Scotia Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction, Church of God in Christ, all the way from Buffalo, New York, is tuned in right now. Keyshawn Dodds, executive director of Boys and Girls Club Family Center here in Springfield. I got LaShannon Victoria from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's a good place to be if you just chilling during the summer months or whatever, you know. You have some fun in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Jules Howard, my man from Maryland, is in the house. My niece, Justine Aljo from Windsor, Connecticut, is up in here. I see you, cousin Orita Swan. I see you, Mother Annie Beard. I see you, Tyrell Williams. I see y'all. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from. Where's my YouTubers? Where are my YouTube? Oh, there's one YouTuber from Harlem, New York is up. And of course, Springfield, Massachusetts is in here. I expect y'all to be in here. The Shy, of course, the Shy is always in here deep. I mean, they be in here deep. The Shy is all up on YouTube. Okay, the Shy is up in here. All right. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. 413-337-1867. Juanita, I see you. I got another Shy cousin, Lisa, from the Shy. Always representing. Listen. Okay, and tap them hearts up there, y'all. On let me see where my Twitterers are. Let me see my Periscope Twitterers. Let me see where y'all at. I forgot to check in with y'all. See what y'all doing up in here. Let me switch devices here. I'm not logged in on that one, so I gotta kind of switch to another one. Need to always. I think I get most of my trolls on the Twitter side. I got a lot of trolls that stalk me on the Twitter side. All right. Good morning. I see y'all now. Okay. All right. Everybody's in my purview. 413-337-1867. Double tap that screen there, y'all, on Periscope and Twitter. Pop them hearts up in the air. I still think I'm stuck at 4 million some odd hearts. I'm trying to get to 5 million. But anyway, listen, it seemed like a turning point. Okay. Several years ago, law enforcement officers left the body of Mike Brown, an 18-year-old young man from Missouri, shot and killed by a police officer. They left his body laying in the street in the summer heat for more than 4 hours. Left his body laying in the street for more than 4 hours. And Americans living in the greater St. Louis area decided they had had enough. They had enough. Black citizens who had been ruled by bureaucracies originally crafted with the express purpose of excluding them. They were tired of being harassed, tired of being mistreated by unaccountable armed government agents who locked them in cages to fill the municipal coffers, to basically hit their quotas, lock people up, because we know the prison industrial complex is big business. They had their fill. And incidentally, let me pause parenthetically and congratulate Brother Frank McCall. I want to congratulate Brother Frank McCall, my frat brother, who is now the chief of police in Ferguson, Missouri. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Swan. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good. I'm just trying to get some clarity. How do they go about conviction? First degree murder, second degree murder. Because of George Floyd, they saying it was third degree murder. And this man sat on this man's neck for 9 minutes. That is pure murder.
Well, see, the law is very specific when it comes to murder. First degree murder is normally premeditated. So it's like, if I make a plan and a plot that I'm going to go over your house and strangle you to death tonight, they have to be able to prove that that was my intention from the beginning, that I planned to do that. So they're saying it's not first degree murder because, when Derek Chauvin got up that morning, he didn't say, you know what, I think I'm going to kill George Floyd today. So it's hard to prove premeditation.
But can't they say this was personal?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it was, and I heard that they used to work together. Did you hear about that?
I didn't know anything about that.
No. There was they worked at a nightclub together because the lady she owned a nightclub, and they worked together. So I feel in my heart that this was personal. But I'm just confused with the conviction because they said if he have good behavior, he might be out soon in 22 years.
Oh yeah, we don't expect him to do this the entire time. None of these cops are going to do the entire time. I mean, think about Amber Geiger, who got 10 years for killing Botham Jean. She's not going to do 10 years. Jason Van Dyke, who got 6 years for killing Laquan McDonald. He might be out now. I don't know. I haven't kept track of it, but he's not going to do 6 years. We don't think that they're going to do all of the time.
But who do the cops answer to? Isn't it Justice Department?
Well, they're supposed to answer. They're supposed to answer to the people, and yes, the criminal injustice system is supposed to hold them accountable when they violate the constitutional rights of the people that they're supposed to protect.
One last question. If it was a reversal, it was a black cop.
Now you already know. You already know. They ain't even no need to ask that question. You already know.
Has it ever happened?
Oh man, right there in Minnesota, in the same town, in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot
black
about
cop
that.
shot a white woman, and they sent him away quick, fast, in a hurry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, mister. Have a good day.
All right, you too. 413-337-1867. Again, shout out to my frat brother Frank McCall, who's now the chief of police in Ferguson, Missouri, and hopefully he'll do the right thing in terms of holding his officers accountable and doing some real reform in that police department. So this was 7 years ago when this happened with Mike Brown, and the unrest in Ferguson, it was sparked by the police murdering him on August 9th. It reignited the Black Lives Matter movement that had began with the acquittal just 1 year earlier of George Zimmerman, who murdered 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in 2012. The protests and unconstitutional police response on the streets of St. Louis seized the nation's attention, and it brought about some modest change in the St. Louis region and beyond. Part of that change is what I just talked about, with Frank McCall becoming recently the commissioner of police, the chief of police. They started blue ribbon panels. Missouri's Ferguson Commission, former President Barack Obama started a task force on 21st century policing. The feds pulled back on distributing military gear to local police forces, forced the city of Ferguson to curb its profit-driven and discriminatory police practices. The slow-moving local political process, with the help of probes, expanded investigative reporting, activist-driven political pressure, like what we're going to see this Saturday in Springfield with the Good Trouble rally, eventually ousted many of the government and law enforcement leaders who reigned over systems that enabled unconstitutional and abusive policing for decades. Yet, these reforms, brothers and sisters, paled in comparison to the swift changes the nation needed to witness. Okay? And so what we saw, fast forward to last year, when you have a Minneapolis police officer that kills George Floyd on May 25th. And that followed the murder of Ahmaud Arbery by white vigilantes in Georgia. That followed the murder of Breonna Taylor by police in Louisville, Kentucky. And there have been some shifting of public opinion on the need for police reform. Just 7% of Americans said policing is basically sound and requires no changes after the George Floyd is. Far shift from what it used to be. But here's the thing. Even in the midst of all of the marches, the protests, all of these corporations that were shelling out money left and right because they wanted to feel good and feel philanthropic, feel like they were being altruistic. After all that good feeling stuff went away, it was right back to business as usual. Business as usual. See, here's the thing. We often get excited about moments without understanding that there's a difference between a moment and a movement. Okay? You know, we have these momentary victories. Oh, yes, Derek Chauvin was convicted. That's a momentary thing. That did not represent a shifting of the criminal injustice system or even of the attitude of the people who run that system. You know, they default. It's easy. Here's the reality. Here's the reality. My non-melanated brothers and sisters, they default back into whiteness when these things are over. Your allies, most of your so-called allies, they default back into whiteness, into their comfort zone.
just ask yourself this question. All of the resistors, the allies that y'all thought y'all had when Donald Trump was president, because there was a boatload of non-melanated folk. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. A boatload of non-melanated folk who were resistors for 4 years. I mean, the resistance. As soon as their Democratic white dude got in office, resist what? See, they defaulted back into whiteness. They defaulted back into their comfort zone. That we can tolerate anti-black bigotry as long as a Democrat is in charge. All of their resistance efforts have dissipated. Where are all your resisting friends now? Now that they got Uncle Joe in office. Where they at? Where are they at? Come on now. Joe does not want to get rid of the filibuster. The Republicans use the filibuster to stop voting reform. Democrats need black votes in order to win. The Democrat president said he ain't getting rid of the filibuster. Where are all your resistors? Why they ain't putting pressure on Uncle Joe? See, you have to understand, they were never resisting white supremacy, racism, and anti-black bigotry. They were resisting Republicans being in charge. They were resisting Trump. And Trump does not represent racism in America. Trump is a symptom of a pre-existing condition. Racism in America predates Trump. He is just a symptom of a pre-existing condition. That's real. And most of your resisting friends are now AWOL. Matter of fact, you ought to ask them, hey, where did y'all go? You know, now that Trump is out, where did y'all go? Y'all ain't resisting no more? Ask them the question. See, here's the major difference. The major difference between your pretend white allies who fancy themselves as resistors and you and I is we live this. We live this. This is real to us. This is not something that we can opt out of. Let me put it that way. We cannot opt out of the struggle. That we can't do that. They can. They can fall back into whiteness. They can go right back to where they came from before Trump got into office and all of that. We can't do that. We can't do that. We're going to be black no matter what, no matter who's in office. No matter who's in office, we will be black. We will have to deal with all that comes with being black. We can't opt out and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to resist today. I ain't going to resist tomorrow. That's not how it happens for us. That ain't how it goes down for us. We're going to be part of this. And so white folks go right back into denial. They go, and Ferguson was supposed to be the catalyst for a movement in America. It was supposed to be the catalyst for an overwhelming consensus that the nation needed to curb police abuse. George Floyd was supposed to be the same thing. You know? But ask yourself, where's all that fire? Where's all that passion that folk had just 1 year ago? Where is it now? Where's all of that activism? Where's all that resistance? Yeah, Floyd's murderer has been convicted, and folk have gone back into business as usual. I know I'm right. Y'all may not want to admit it, but you know I'm right too. Let's admit Bishop is right. 413-337-1867. If y'all know I'm right, type it in the comments. Say, you right, Bishop. You right. You're right. And it's frustrating because we go on the coaster ride and we should not need to have a high profile murder of a black person in order for people to remain consistent about doing what's right. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop Swan. Just want to call in, let you know that I'm watching the show, man. It's outstanding as usual.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about the unvaccinated? And like, I think them Fox News and Trump supporters should perish if they don't believe in science.
Listen. Here's the irony. Here's the irony. Have you noticed that all of a sudden, all of the anti-vax folks, all of the conservatives are now talking about believe the science and get vaccinated? Can you believe Sean Hannity? Sean Hannity is telling folk to get vaxxed.
All right. I'm not gonna hold up your time. I was just thinking about that. You have a blessed day, Mr. Swan. I was thinking about that seriously.
You too. Take care.
All right.
Yes, sir. I mean, Sean Hannity, Ron DeSantis, the mayor of, the governor of Florida, is telling people to get vaxxed. I mean, somehow, I don't know what happened. Maybe they scared of people getting sued or something. But they seem to have changed their mind on that particular issue. 413-337-1867. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Yes, I'm just calling right now. Could you tell me when is the rally this Saturday? What time is it and where it's going to be at?
11 o'clock. At Magazine Park.
Magazine Park. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. If I got that wrong, Brother Stokes, call and correct me. But I believe I got it right. 413-337-1867. She's talking about the Good Trouble rally that is happening in Springfield on this Saturday. And so, people default back into whiteness. They opt out of the movement. They decide there's no need to resist anymore. But here is the kicker, is that regardless of the momentary movement that happened in the wake of the murder of Mike Brown and in wake of the murder of George Floyd, white folks are still in denial about systemic racism. We've got that problem here in our city. We've got a whole police commissioner talking about there is no systemic racism. They're still in denial. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. Just calling to clarify that the rally will be Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. at Adams Park.
Okay.
And we will be marching to the old fire station and back up State Street and back to Adams Park for more activities. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for your call. All right, Adams Park. Adams Park. They'll start gathering at 11. They want you to be there by 1 o'clock at Adams Park in Springfield, the Good Trouble Rally. So be there. Somebody put that information in the comments if it's not already there. 413-337-1867. How can you still be in denial? See, here's what they're pretending. They want to pretend that racism in America is a series of isolated incidents, that it's not systemic in nature. That white folks are basically, good people. Most of them aren't racist. Racism is a few bad apples. That's kind of the theory they use all the time. The same theory they use when it comes to police officers. Cops are basically good, decent people who protect and serve, and all this negativity is a few bad apples. Listen, you leave bad apples in a barrel, the rot spreads to the other apples, and before you know it, you got a barrel full of rotten apples. Here's the other thing. These rotten apples are being produced by a rotten tree. So you need to get to the root of the tree. Get to the root of the problem. Why does the tree keep bearing so many rotten apples? But basically, they want to deny that it is a systemic problem. And that's why a Cheryl Clapprood, police commissioner in Springfield, with the evidence in her face, and that's the day and time we're living in, brothers and sisters. We're living in a deny things exist kind of paradigm. That it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can look up and see the sky is blue, but just deny that it's blue. Just what your eyes see, what your body experiences, what you witness and know, pretend it's not that way. That's what Trumpism ushered in to the discourse, is to just blatantly lie about what you know is a fact. So, for instance, here in Springfield, it doesn't matter that the Department of Justice said that the Springfield police have a pattern of behavior in which they brutalize black and brown bodies. We're going to deny systemic racism has anything to do with it. It's a pattern of excessive force against black and brown people. But they still want to pretend it's individual instances and it's not systemic. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. I just want to speak to you for a couple of times this morning. I haven't talked to you quite some time. Yes, how you been?
I'm good. You?
Okay, I'm rolling right along here. I'm just sitting up here listening. I listen right through on, what's going on at that White House deal and with Biden, with the infrastructure and all this other stuff. So I didn't lose a handle on it, but it's just a matter of, what's the deal with this thing? I mean, why is there not priorities on all this stuff,
Yeah. Well, I got a whole problem with the way Biden and them are rolling right now. I need more black people to get on the bandwagon, though. But it's like we're so happy that the Democrats are in charge that we're unwilling to hold them accountable. And at the end of the day, we need to hold all elected officials accountable, all public officials, everybody our tax dollars pay for to serve us. We need to be holding them accountable regardless of their political party.
Yeah, you see, now that's what I needed to hear, because right now, even though with all of the different branches that we hold so-called, priority on, there's nothing really getting done. I mean, it's kind of like playing basketball and hitting the back goal with nothing going in the hoop,
Listen, they won't push the envelope on voting reform. They won't push the envelope on getting rid of the filibuster. They don't want to talk about reparations. They don't want to talk about any legislation that is specific for black people, but they'll do legislation specific for Native Americans, specific for the LGBTQ community, specific for the Asian community, yet and still it's black people that got them the Senate and got them the White House, but we can't do anything specific for black people. We've got a decision to make. We got a decision to make.
Yeah, they don't want to do it for us because, when that next step is having total leadership, and they don't want to see that.
Absolutely.
That's exactly where they are right now, and they don't want to move their feet, and everybody's running around crying like little babies because, you don't want to see me on the pedestal, then put somebody there with me because I can stand behind them and at least get something done,
I hear you.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to touch base with you there, and I've been trying to call, Baker and these guys because even though he's a Republican, I voted for him to find out exactly what's going on because these guys are getting a little bit stiff at the end of the day, and you don't hear nothing that they're doing,
Right. Got to hold them accountable. Appreciate your call, brother.
Yes, sir. You have a good day.
You too. 413-337-1867. So regardless of the DOJ report that says Springfield police engage in a pattern of brutality against black and brown bodies, Clapper denies systemic racism exists. Regardless of the fact that 14 officers are currently being prosecuted by the state attorney general for either brutalizing black and brown people or lying to cover up the brutalization of black and brown people. 14 currently being prosecuted. She can still open her mouth and say systemic racism doesn't exist in this department, regardless of the fact that there's an officer who was convicted just in September for brutalizing a black boy at a high school. She's still saying, we don't have a problem with systemic racism in the Springfield Police Department. Regardless of the fact that a police officer just left a vile, racist social media post and wound up retiring, them allowing him to retire because they would have had to fire him to remain consistent with their so-called social media policy. She's still saying, we don't have a problem with systemic racism. So it's like systemic racism all up in her face. I mean, all up in here, all up in her face. And she's still saying, we don't have a problem with systemic racism. And here is my problem. Nobody associated with this administration will push back on it. Nobody. No black people in the administration will push back on it. Judge Roderick Ireland, who has been hired by the city to help the police reform, won't push back on it. The mayor won't push back on it. Most of the people that are elected, you got a couple of city councilors that have pushed back on it, but even the majority of black and Latino elected officials won't push back on it either. What the hell is going on when black and brown people can't say, hold up, you're not going to tell us there ain't no systemic racism? What is wrong when black and Latino people won't say that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning, and God bless. And I hope all is well with everyone. Well, Bishop, you're touching a lot of people's real feelings, and that is a blessing. I am one to glad to hear you say a lot of things, but I need to inform you right away. You said something. You said the city keeps electing bad apples. You do know Yana Crawford and Zeta Govan is Dominic Sarno. So when you're singing that, you
okay, wait. Let's clarify. Let's clarify.
Well, I just want to let you
No. You started out on the wrong premise. Let's clarify.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. We cannot. We can't. You're not going. This is my show. Okay. We can't talk at the same time. You can't out talk me on my show. I got the controls. Okay. So either you be quiet and listen to me and then talk, or else I hang up on you. But you ain't gonna out talk me. You ain't gonna do that. Now, I didn't say the city keeps electing bad apples. I was talking about the police department, that they keep saying it's a few bad apples. And I said, where's the tree that keeps producing these bad apples? Go back and listen to what I said. You cannot make a statement based off of a false premise. I said nothing about electing bad apples, first of all. Secondly, neither Ayanna Crawford nor Zeta Govan are elected officials. They are running for office. They have not been elected into office. How about we hold accountable those who have been elected to office? That's what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm talking about the fact that we have a police commissioner who said there is no systemic racism. And the elected mayor has said nothing. The elected mayor has not said, wait a minute, I do not stand with the comments made by Commissioner Clapperud in denying that systemic racism exists in Springfield. I mean, how the hamburger is the mayor going to stand at City Hall and have a press conference and say racism is a public health crisis, and then let his police commissioner say we ain't got no racism? Come on. How does that work? How racism going to be a public health crisis, but you've got major department heads in your administration saying we ain't got no racism, and you say nothing about it? You allocate money to start the Office of Racial Equity. Okay. Tell me, why do you need an Office of Racial Equity if there ain't no racism? Arsenio Hall used to say things that make you go, Somebody answer me the question. Why do we need an Office of Racial Equity if there is no systemic racism in Springfield? The mayor came out after Hector Santiago's racist social media post and said, we need some more diversity training. Why we need diversity training if there ain't no racism? So here's the thing. You cannot talk out of both sides of your neck. You cannot say racism is a public health crisis. You cannot say we need to establish an Office of Racial Equity. You cannot say we need more diversity training and then say nothing about your commissioner saying ain't no systemic racism. That don't go together.
That don't go together, y'all. Not only has the mayor not said anything, and I don't need to name them. You know who they are. I'll name the ones that have spoken out. I'll name the Tracy Whitfields and the Justin Hurst who have stood boldly to condemn systemic racism. But ask yourself the question, Black people, my Latinx brothers and sisters, how come other elected officials who look like y'all have said nothing? Nothing. Nothing. Local and state officials, Black and brown people who sat there and listened to a white police commissioner say there's not a problem with systemic racism, and you know that the police beat Black and brown people that you represent upside the head every day. And how dare you sit there and say nothing? You were elected by the people. What the hell are you scared of? What you scared of? You scared of the mayor? He didn't elect you. The people in your district elected you. The people who the police beat upside the head every day elected you. And yet, when she says ain't no systemic racism, you can hear a rat pee on cotton because y'all won't say nothing about it. I know. Y'all talking about me. Y'all making phone calls right now. They're making phone calls right now. Bishop Swan on there being radical. I'm going to be radical until the day I die. Marcus Garvey was radical. Nat Turner was radical. And yes, Martin Luther King Jr. was radical. Jesus was radical. So, hey, I'm in good company. I'm in great company. 413-337-1867. And as we are in this election season, electing our municipal officers, ask yourself the question, do you want to continue to be represented by someone who is afraid to speak truth to power? Who's afraid to condemn systemic racism? Who's afraid to condemn a racist police commissioner? That who you want? Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller.
Hello?
You're on the air.
Yes, this doesn't pertain to what you're talking about. I'm just wondering why are they paying people, putting people in a pool to get $1,000 if they take the vaccine?
Let's stay on topic, people. I'm sorry. Let's just stay on topic. Y'all. I love my people. But y'all the only ones who can listen to a show where they're talking about popcorn and y'all call in and be like, I don't want to talk about popcorn. I want to talk about ice cream. Well, get your own show and you can talk about ice cream. We're going to talk about what we're talking about, okay? 413-337-1867. Oh, my people. Gotta love Black people. Yeah, so as we are preparing for these municipal elections,
Ask yourself the question, who do I want representing me? Someone who goes along to get along? Who, when the mayor agrees with the commissioner and says ain't no systemic racism, they say, yeah, it's a boss. Ain't no systemic racisms no more. Or somebody who's going to stand up and speak truth to power. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. I just wanted to add, I wanted to ask State Representative Bud Williams. I want to ask Marlo Brown. I want to ask Melvin Edwards. I want to ask Orlando Ramos. I want to ask Adam Gomez. I want to ask Cheryl Rivera. I want to ask Tracy. Miss Rodriguez of the Park Department. I want to ask Maria Ligas from Rural Citizens Council. I want to ask Herbie Flores. I want to ask all of those Black and Latino people who are coming out talking about the Latina X, Bud Williams, and all of these people in our community. Don't they understand the pain and the suffering and the trauma that we're going through? Do they understand that some of us and our children during the pandemic watched George Floyd die with a knee on his neck, and for Hector Santiago to make that post and they remain silent, and then they come around us and we accept them and we laugh and we joke and we act like this is a game, Bishop. People are dying and Black people are being murdered and killed. Our women are being murdered and killed. And right here in Springfield, Mr. Booker Washington in the early 70s and 80s was murdered by the Springfield Police Department. Ben Schofield was murdered by the Springfield Police Department in 1994.
I played basketball with his son.
And they celebrated with hams and watermelon. Delano Walker, his death was at the hands of the Springfield Police Department. Yet, none of those who quote Dr. King, none of those who quote Fannie Lou Hamer and all of those great people, they remain silent and they walk amongst us. And if we say something about if we underscore and highlight the hypocrisy of what they're doing, then we're the problem and they're okay. This is just foul. And they need to be addressing us. Why are you so afraid of these Caucasians in power when the people, as you said, elect us? This is a travesty at the time that we're in now. This is just a tragedy, and we should be absolutely calling them out. Thank you, Bishop.
All right. Thank you for your call. I've only got about 3 minutes left on WTCC. I'll continue on with my streaming audience, for our extended overdrive edition after this. But let me close out with my audience here on WTCC. The Black and Latino communities in Springfield have got to come together. Here's the reality. There are things we need to talk about and deal with. There's a lot of anti-Blackness in many communities, but listen, we have a problem when Maria Perez, a Latino elected official, files legislation to give cops unfettered access to video cameras, video footage in the school system, especially after we know that's how the last police officer got busted brutalizing a Black youth. And it's not lost on us that the officer who brutalized that Black youth was a Latino officer. It's not lost on us that the officer who made the racist social media post against George Floyd was a Latino officer. And it's not lost on us that most of the leaders in the Latino community have been completely silent on each of those issues. On the issue of Maria Perez's legislation and the school committee passing that legislation, on the issue of the officer being convicted of brutalizing a Black boy, and on the issue of Hector Santiago's racist social media post. Y'all can't say you're our allies And yet when your community is brutalizing our community, you remain silent. We can't talk about that black-brown unity coalition thing if you stand with the white folks when black people are being brutalized. I got to get out your way. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, 11 o'clock a.m. every Sunday. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. My streaming audience, stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, kicking it back with you. I'm going to play a little spoken word piece. Then I'm going to bring First Lady on. So y'all don't go nowhere. This is Talbert Swan. This is called A Response to the Sellout. All right, y'all stay with us. We're coming right back.
You say you sold out because black women are loud and crass. What? And your precious white woman is the epitome of class? Are you so blind that you cannot see? That pale girl child ain't got nothing on me. For hundreds of years we have stood by your side, accepted your flaws and allowed you your pride, bore your children and cleaned up your mess, satisfied your lust and always settled for less. We have stayed in the background and allowed you to lead, trusting in your strength and ability to succeed, never getting the praise and credit we deserve, for having the courage, the will, and the nerve, for being the backbone that has kept it together, for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we did. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate was cracking the whip? In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side and didn't say a word, waiting for her own chance to rule and be heard. And now it's her you turn like a queen. And me and my sisters you choose to demean? Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. Listen up. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter her shade. High, yellow, red bone, or cocoa brown, we are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night. It is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual, loving, and kind. A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. For we give and forgive until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature of our soul, by our so-called brothers who are just playing a role. And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take a look in the mirror, because the answer is you. It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with a million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here, who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you with love. It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters, not Bo Derek's kind who rate a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellouts who claim to be brothers. When you turn your back on us, you disrespect your mothers. Did you hear that? This is a response to the sellout.
All right, that's a response to the sellout. Listen, that's my late sister Rhonda Swan. But you can get that and a lot of her other spoken word pieces wherever you stream music, Spotify, Pandora, whatever. Get it. Go on, check it out, stream it, use it, all that good stuff. All right. I got the first lady. Let me see. Let me get your microphone check. Say something.
Hey, that's one of my favorite pieces by Rhonda.
All
one
right.
of my absolute favorite pieces.
There we go.
Yeah, Tracy, get it, girl. She got a lot of good stuff in there. She got books too.
Yeah, there's 2 EPs out. Speaking My Mind in Poetic Verse is one, and the other one is called Foreplay. A lot of, anyway, y'all go check it out.
Yeah, we might not talk about that on there.
Well, I mean, it's real stuff, good stuff. Yeah. Go on, check it out. Get it, and then while you're getting it, check out my son,
baby.
Check out my son, T Swan. He's got some new music out. Check him out. And I still got an EP out that's out there that I made in the wake of the George Floyd murder called "We Still Can't Breathe." Check that out as well. I'm trying to get my wife to get on. I think
I'm gonna do it.
Get her up there as well, so y'all have swans all in the music space. Okay, how about that? All right,
gonna do it.
So I've been talking about how white folks style, and as late I've been talking about the Black Brown coalition. You know, but we can't have a coalition if y'all are remaining silent. You know, and won't condemn those in your own community who are working not only against the best interests of Black people, but against the best interests of your own people.
Right.
We can't be scared to condemn our own Uncle Tom. Well, I won't say Uncle Tom. Our own Uncle Ruckuses.
Right.
And Ruckuses. We've got to be able to call them out as well. This is what it is.
Right. Well, it's very complicated, Bishop, because, well, it's very complicated because we know that we would be stronger if we were unified, right? Unfortunately, history has shown us time and time again, that Black folk are typically very easily advocating and protesting and fighting for justice, and we always are bringing other groups along. But then when we get to the door, the other groups typically step ahead of us and willing to, kind of leave us behind. Not kind of, but, do leave us behind and leave us on the bottom. So I've been saying this, that I'm sick and tired, and I guess it's the Fannie Lou Hamer in me, right? I'm sick and tired of every other group being content about leaving Black folk on the bottom. They'll ride our coattail all the way up to the door. And like I said, history has shown us that time and time again, that they will ride our coattail all the way up to the door. And we advocate just as strong for them and their community as we are doing for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, I believe that Black folk only want fairness, only want equality, only want what's right, only want what we deserve. We don't want something that we don't deserve. We're not advocating, for anything that we do not deserve. We only want what we deserve. And like I said, we're always willing to bring other groups up with us, but they seem to always at the door, on the precipice of things, get there and they'll step over the threshold and leave us behind or leave us on the bottom. And I'm sick of that.
I want to shout out to my good friend who I see has tuned in, the Bishop Destry Bell, all the way from Houston, Texas, who has chimed into the program, and to each of you who have chimed in. Yes, absolutely. I'm sick of it as well. We fired. I was talking earlier about how during the Trump administration, we had all of these white allies and resistors. Had never resisted before Trump, but all of a sudden they were resistors. They were allies. And they have faded back into whiteness now that a Democrat is in the White House. Where is the resistance now? Where is holding Biden accountable for refusing to talk about reparations?
Well, the
filibuster, for refusing to speak vociferously enough about voting reform. Where is all of that now? Because it's okay. Racism is okay as long as a Democrat is in power. So they really weren't resisting white supremacy. They were resisting Trump and Republicans.
Right. And they used us, right? And they used us, so the Black folk, brown folk, whatever, but primarily Black folk, because we know what Black folk did, right, to flip that election. If Black folk didn't do what we did, it's specifically Black women, but especially, Black folk in general, if we didn't do what we did, we would have lost that election. And so here we go again, just like you're saying and just like you're speaking to, Bishop, here we go again after everything that we did, to win that election for the Democrats. And now, every other group is being paid attention to except for us. Like nothing. And so, part of what my problem is, I think, there's several things that's definitely going on. So Black and brown communities, Asian communities, all of these communities are not unified into one. We're not the melting pot that we should be, when it comes to that, we don't understand our global power. We don't get that, when we all come together and recognize who the real enemy is. I think that's the problem. And then it's too much, and I hate to even put it out there in the atmosphere in this way, but it's too much division within the Black community. And so my desire in the pursuit of justice, just as a resident, just as a community member, and I mean as a Black woman, my desire is for us to learn how to come together as Black people. And I mean, I understand that we all think differently, that we're not a monolith. I get that, or whatever, but let's have those discussions privately. But we need to, agree to have one voice publicly, especially when it comes to politics.
And that's one of the reasons why I said we need to have a candid conversation. We need to talk. We need to get our communities together and say, hey, what the deal is. And if we need to have a come to Jesus meeting. That's just real. Otherwise, we remain fractured. We remain divided.
Right.
Because the only way that we really make the gains that we should make is by coming together. There's a reason why Hartford has had several Black mayors, Latino mayors. Springfield has never had one.
Not one.
Never had
Not
one.
Not one.
Even though we are supposed to be a minority, I hate the term minority.
Yeah, I do too, because that's not true.
We're supposed to be a minority city where Black and brown people outnumber white folks. But because those Black and brown folks can't come together, white folks still remain in power. And so the seat in the mayor's office fluctuates between the Italian and the Irish community. I mean, that's just real. It's not those you want to always accuse me of being racist. That's real. Dominic Sarno, Italian mayor. Charlie Ryan before him, Irish mayor. Mike Albano before him, Italian mayor. Bob Markle before him, Irish mayor. So we fluctuate between the Italian and the Irish community, even while the Black and Puerto Rican community outnumber them. We can't get together with one another.
Right. To push our candidates or to push a candidate, whatever. So, that's a problem. I don't, Bishop, babe, I wouldn't even have a problem with the racial makeup, so-called racial makeup, okay? Or the ethnic makeup of a mayor, as long as, they were conscious of, social justice as it pertains specifically to Black people. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with that, right? So it's not just about who they are, as far as their racial background is concerned. It's about who they are when it comes to understanding the plight of Black and, I'm gonna say Black and brown in this instance. But I've made a conscious decision to start pushing the Black agenda, pushing the Black voice, because I think we need to be unified first before, we can really get a handle on what's happening with these other groups and why we're not coming together. Yeah. And why we're not coming together. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and I've heard some talk like this. The fact of the matter is, and I've expressed this before to some of the people who know me. And Tracy put up a good question, Bishop. I don't know if you want to go back in there and read it. But I said before that the real enemy is this white supremacist system that we're living under, right? That's the real enemy. And so, like, when it comes to resources, we don't see that out of the $250 million, and and I'm just using a number. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but out of the $250 million that's supposed to be coming, back here to the city or the state or or whatever, and it's supposed to be coming here, we don't see that 249 million goes to white corporations, white organizations, back into white communities, and so on and so forth. And then maybe 990,000 might go to the Latino community, which is still crumbs, right? Out of 250 million, which is still crumbs, but maybe the Latino community is satisfied, with the 990,000, and then the black folks, and we know we don't get this much, but black folks is left with 100,000, right? And so we don't even get crumbs. It's a crumb. We don't even get crumbs. It's a crumb, right? And so, but then when the Latino community might be saying something about the 990,000 that they got, they might be saying something about that, but they neglect to say something about the 100,000 that the black folk got or the black community receives, when black and brown what are identified target groups that money was supposed to be getting back to, and it never gets here. That's a problem for me.
Well, see, here's what Bishop Bell is saying. Other groups are making deals in back rooms. And good morning, Aunt Marion, I see you. That is so true, because what's happening is we're out on the streets protesting. We're making noise. We're drawing attention to the issue. And while we're drawing attention to the issue, they're cutting the deals in the back room.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Bishop Bell. Yes.
And we are satisfied with being able to take pictures. That we can post to social media. Look at me and the governor. Look at me and the mayor.
I don't want no picture, babe. I don't want no picture.
Here's the deal. They're blessed to take a picture with me. Okay. But that's what I mean. Until the black community is no longer satisfied with just photo ops, having them come to our church, because
absolutely
we fight over ignorant stuff like that. I remember when Deval Patrick was governor, and we held what we called an urban town hall meeting. The governor was running for re-election, and the urban town hall meeting was being held at our church. There were people, politicians, I won't call names, who were working behind the scenes with the Patrick administration to try to get them to move the urban town hall meeting out of Spring of Hope.
Right.
Because they did not want it to be at Bishop Swan's church. They wanted it to be at somebody else. We fight over ignorant stuff like that. I don't want the governor to go to his church because it's going to look like he got more influence with the governor than I got. It need to be at my home church instead. I remember when Elizabeth Warren got.
I remember too.
And she had come by our church while she was running. We were one of the first ones to host her when she was a candidate with a group of black preachers. She came back after she was elected to the city and was making her rounds, and our church was going to be the last stop, and she was going to hold a press conference at our church. And once again, you had handkerchief head Uncle Ruckus Negroes who were, we don't want you to do the press conference at Bishop Swan's church. We need to take his church off the list and put this church. We fight over ignorant stuff
crazy.
Like whose church is the white politician gonna go to?
Right.
While other communities are working in the back room, and how much money is going to come to our community?
There you go.
What major position of power
right.
you're going to put our people in, and we arguing about whose church they going to come do a photo op at.
Right. And I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that because at the end of the day, you can go outside and look at our city and see that there's no progress. I've been living here now. I moved here, as you know, I moved here from Dallas, Texas. I've been living in Springfield. I love Springfield. This is my home now. Been here for 34 years, going on 34 years, and been married to Bishop for 30 years. He's a native of the city. You can go outside and you can see, y'all, that we haven't moved the needle at all in a 35-year period for me. And that is sickening. That is sickening to me that's the case. We've raised we had our children. We've raised our children in this city, in the school system, and so on and so forth. And it's sad that the needle has not moved in a way of advancement, progression, or a development at all. At all.
And let me say, for the record, just for the record,
it's for those reasons you spoke of, Bishop.
I see some of the commentary, and there was a caller who called in to try to throw shade on a couple of our sisters. Let me just state for the record, I am supporting both Ayanna Crawford and Ida Govan. So just so you know, for the caller who was trying to throw shade that way, that's who I'm supporting. You can vote for who you want. You know, you might not even live in the district. I live in the ward that they're running.
No, that's a supporter, babe. I know Mark.
No, I'm not talking about Mark. I'm talking about someone who called in earlier.
Okay.
Trying to throw shade that way. So no, this the wrong show to try to throw those sisters under the bus on. They trying
to throw Ayanna.
Yeah. You weren't paying attention.
As opposed to who?
Well, anyway, they were trying to throw those two sisters under the bus, and like, what was it? What was the Umbaka? From the Umbaka tribe. What was his name? Come on, babe.
Are you talking about in Black Panther?
Yeah. What was my man's name that led the Umbaka tribe?
You talking about the king of the tribe? I don't know. I can just see him right now. I can't remember right now. You throwing me completely off. I was.
Anyway, what he said was, we will not have it. I've got to transition.
Oh, yeah.
I got to transition. I understand that we've still been on WTCC. Let me play this piece and make sure that we're transitioning out. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Sorry.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from, and hidden, but it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
All right. And we're back with our streaming audience. 41, somebody was trying to call in. 413 337 1867. 413 337 1867 is the number if you want to get in.
Before you take a call, Bishop, I just wanted to complete this thought. I think Black folk need to learn how to stay focused on the real enemy. That's number one. And not get to the point to where we can really unify. Have our disagreements, but make a decision to come together, and make a decision to push our candidates, to produce our candidates, to to really advocate, for our community to progress, and to develop a universal agenda. Now, I think that this agenda needs to be universal. I think it needs to apply all across the country. But nevertheless, we need to start locally. But I mean, because as a woman of God, as a woman of faith, we do believe, that charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. So nevertheless, we need to focus this year on this election. I've been saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it up until November 2nd. This is one of the most critical elections I've probably had the opportunity to participate in since I've been a resident and a voter in the city of Springfield, Massachusetts. We can really shift some things on the school committee by supporting Ayana and by also bringing certain people back, and I'm gonna call their names: Denise Hurst, Barbara Gresham, and Latonya Naylor.
Just a moment, caller. Just hold the line. Go ahead, finish your thought.
So by bringing Latonya Naylor back, I'm unapologetic about this. By bringing Latonya back, by bringing Miss Barbara Gresham back, by bringing Denise Hurst back, and then by adding Ayana Crawford, we can then begin to maybe make the changes that we need to see reflected on the school committee, and then with the city council, I think it's really important that voters become engaged. I'm talking about voters, period, but especially in the Black community. Babe, our numbers are abysmal. So,
and we've got to do a much better job in terms of increasing those numbers, definitely.
Our numbers are crazy.
Good morning, caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Fletcher. I don't throw shade, I throw facts. So I don't
Deborah.
We're not doing this.
Goodbye, Deborah.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Goodbye, Deborah.
Yeah.
Bye, Deborah. Bye-bye.
We're not doing that.
Bye, Felicia. Girl, bye.
We're not, babe. We're not. Come on now.
Bye.
Let's stay classy, babe.
Nah.
But the numbers are abysmal. So I give you an example. And I hope somebody that lives in Ward 3, which is, I believe we're in Ward 3. The church is in Ward 3. Isn't the church in Ward 3, babe?
We're in Ward 4. We're right on the cusp. We're right. If we go just a couple streets over, we'd be in Ward 3. But we're in Ward 4.
Okay. So So in Ward 3, there are 18,000 people that live in Ward 3. First of all, we're a small city. We're only 153,000 people that live in the city, right? There's 18,000 people that live in Ward 3. The number of people that came out to the last election was 800 that voted in the last election out of 18,000 people that live in the city. Now, I understand you might be saying, well, you know, how many registered voters do we have in that ward? Well, I don't know that number specifically to Ward 3, but I do know this, that we don't have a voter registration problem in the city of Springfield. We have over 100,000 registered voters in the city of Springfield. The problem is getting people to the polls to vote. So we don't have a registration problem. We have a motivation problem here as far as voting is concerned. And one of the reasons we feel that there's a motivation problem with voting is because there's also an information and education problem with voting. People don't have the information and people don't have the education on how the Black community, for instance, will vote. Other communities, they have a strategy to their voting. And because, you know, the Black community is divided, we don't have a strategy to our voting. We be all over the place, right? We be all over the place. So that's one of the things, you know, one of the problems, you know, that I feel that we have in Springfield. And guess what?
What?
These racists, these white folks, they love it. They are very comfortable. They just know that they're gonna get reelected. They just know that Black folk are not gonna come out and vote. They just know that Black folk are divided. They just know that Black folk are not gonna come up with a strategic plan. They just know that Black folk don't have a universal agenda, a universal understanding. They know that Black folk disagree in private and in public. So, you know, they're comfortable and content. And that's been happening for centuries. For centuries, you know, so that, you know, they're comfortable and content because they know that, you know, Black folks are not going to come out and support Ayanna. At least that's what they're thinking, right? They're not going to come out and support Ayanna, not going to come out and support Zeta, not going to come out and support LaTonya, get her back in there, not going to come out and support Tracy, not going to come out and support Justin, you know, or whatever the case may be. And so we, you know, we got to surprise them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But we got to increase our numbers. We got to vote for the right people. We got to make sure we support those who are going to support our interests, not just those who look like us, because we got folk who look like us who don't necessarily support our interests.
Right.
You know, we've got to make sure that they're on our agenda, on our interests. You know, that's how we gotta get down. That's who we gotta. And there are some who have proven over and over again that they're not going to do it. There are some people that look like us who have proven over several terms that they are not going to support the best interests of Black people. Bottom line.
Like what you said, they're satisfied with the photo ops and they're satisfied with, you know, rubbing arms or elbows or whatever, you know, with the mayor and this, that, and the other. So just like Tracy said, you know, do we know how to hold our elected officials accountable? Do we know what the process is? Do we know what the steps are? So that was the question that she posed, and I think that's a legit question. And so, like I said, that's also the reason why we are hit with so much frustration, is because we're not necessarily educated on these things, you know, or whatever. The white community is, you know, no doubt about it. The white community is. That's why I think I heard Brother Stokes say before, you know, white folks are playing chess and we over here playing checkers. You know, we over here playing checkers. And that's the reason why we're hit with so much frustration, because they playing the long game and we over here, like you said, fighting over personalities, because they don't want Elizabeth Warren coming to Spring of Hope, and they don't want Bishop Swan, because they don't like you, and this, that, and the other. Listen, this ain't about that.
That's pettiness.
Yeah, it is.
We don't have time for that pettiness.
It's killing us, babe. It's killing us. So they don't have to do anything new, because the old stuff is working to keep us divided, to keep us from, coming together, and to keep us from creating the power that we need, the political power that we need, and the political consciousness that we need in order to bring
it's the games that they play. I remember early on, with this administration, and I tell this story, just as a cautionary tale. We spoke out against them stripping the towing contract from a black contractor. First time in the history of the city, a major contract like that had ever been given to a black contractor, and they made up some bogus reasons to strip it from Bob Jones and his group, and myself and State Representative Ben Swan at the time, and State Rep Bud Williams, who was the city council at the time. We all spoke out against what the mayor was doing. The mayor's vindictive reaction to me was to take a measly $15,000 grant that we had been getting for a program called Teens for AIDS Prevention.
I remember. I created it. And here's the thing. If you thought taking chump change like that from me was going to silence me, you miscalculated. And I decided from that day I'd never seek another dime from the city, because you will never, I will not be the one that you will be holding peanuts over my head saying that, if you don't, walk the way we want you to walk and talk the way we want you to talk, we're going to take your peanuts away. And what they did was, it wasn't just that they took it from us. They then reallocated the money they took from us to another black church. We were at the time the only black church that was doing it. Yeah. CDBG funds. They took it and they gave it to the church that was pastored by the late Reverend Morris Stimmage Norwood. That was for two reasons. That was one, to say, this is what you get when you're a good Negro. We'll give you some peanuts. If you're a bad Negro, we'll take your peanuts. But it was also to try to cause a rift between me and Reverend Norwood, between the people who support me and the people who support him, to try to cause division in the black community. These are the games that they play. These are the divide and conquer games that they play all the time to try to silence voices of dissent, reward those who stay on code, and cause division in the black community. But what makes, I know the story, and I know the story very well, and I was there, and as a matter of fact, that's when we was doing a lot of things together. As a matter of fact, you helped me to be more creative about helping to name those kinds of programs. And I don't know if you remember, but that is what really started to inspire me to pursue more of an educational kind of career. And so, because I was the teacher of that program, the facilitator of that program. But nevertheless, what makes me even more sick about it is the fact that it was $15,000. And what in the world does $15,000? Even if it was $150,000 or $150 million, of course, we have to, we have to, oppose that to, what's being done to the greater community, right? Not just an individual such as yourself, or maybe the creator of the program, or, you know, and this, that, and the other. You got to think about what's being done to the greater community. So the fact that a lot of people or another, I know that this is not what happened with you and Bishop Norwood, but I'm just saying that other people would take the $15,000 as if, okay, well, I'll be against, Bishop Swan and what you know what I mean, like to participate in that infiltration or the
well, what it is they throw around peanuts like that to keep you silent, because what they're banking on, but it works. That's the problem. There have been many in the Black community who we have tried to collaborate with to hold this system accountable. When you have $1 million in public service dollars that's being allocated, that is driven by negative status indicators of Black and brown people. That's the reason we get the money. And then when the money is allocated from the city, it's not allocated equitably to those communities. Whenever the Black community gets $46,000 out of $1 million public service dollars, 46,000 combined between the Urban League, MLK Center, the Children's Study Home, at the time MCDI, all that, 46,000, $5,000 grant here, $8,000 grant here, $10,000 grant there. That's a travesty. And but here's the thing. When I tried to challenge the administration on that, those very same agency heads that were getting the peanuts said, oh no, we're not going to come to that meeting and open up our mouths to protest the peanuts they're giving us. The peanuts kept them quiet. It's like, you really going to stay quiet for $8,000? For $5,000? Seriously? I mean, the time it takes to do the reporting costs you more than the $5,000 that you're getting. But that works. And then they turn around and they give a single organization in the Latino community or the white community 2 or 3 times what they give to every organization in the Black community. And Black people stay silent.
We've been talking about our money. That's exactly what I've been talking about all morning. Tracy said it's $4 million now.
No, $4 million is the total amount. But see, 3 million of it, 3 million.
Listen, and the details behind who is getting what is sickening. That's what she said.
Right. So what it is you get 4 million, but out of that, 1 million goes to public services. The other 3 million goes to community development. But either way, we're not getting our fair share. Either way, we're not getting our fair share. Period.
I know, and we're gonna continue not to get our fair share as long as we stay quiet about it. And accept
as long as it's Bishop Swan and the NAACP that's making noise, and other Black people won't support that, then they'll continue to treat us like that.
But we also, I think that this is a perfect segue to make this statement. We also got to recognize, I think we're doing a good job, probably exposing those people who are silent, and silence is acceptance. But we need to do a better job in talking about those people who are not silent, like Tracy Whitfield, like Justin Hurst, right?
Oh yeah,
we need to do a better job promoting them and letting the community, reminding the community or even informing the community that we do have people on the city council, we do have people on the school committee who is challenging the system, who is exposing these allocations of resources that are unjust, who is. And see, and the other thing that we need to remember about that, you think that they don't know that they're being challenged by these people. So, like I said, they are trying to get them out, and we need to keep them in and then add some more. So that's why we really need to do something about engaging in this year's election cycle. We have to do something, babe.
So I'm working on getting some of our candidates scheduled to come on. There are some restrictions in terms of WTCC because of FCC rules that if you invite, one candidate, you have to invite the opponent, yada, yada, yada. But after 10 o'clock, when we continue with our streaming audience, that's no longer under the auspices of WTCC. They can't do anything about that. So we're definitely going to be engaging those candidates who are running and getting their platform and all of that. I know Bishop Destry Bell and we've got an 11 o'clock meeting with our national church leaders. And so I got to transition out of your way. Any final remarks, babe, before we get off the air?
No, but I think the comments this morning are, they are rich. So I'm just
Some of y'all are wilding.
Well, no, they making some really good comments, and so I love the fact that today you stay local about what's going on locally, because I think sometimes when we talk about what's happening far off, in other states and stuff, people disengage, thinking that this doesn't apply to me. So I think if we stay here throughout the election, talking about what's happening here at home and how it directly impacts our quality of life, and our children and our schools and our hospitals and our water and all of that. If people start to see that their voting is connected to how we live, how we see our community, the physical beauty, or not of our community, and it does. I think we can make some real change here. And I know this as a community member. I'm not speaking as a chairwoman because I know I can't, or whatever. I'm not even speaking as just the first lady of Spring of Hope Church, but I'm speaking as myself. I'm my own brand. I know that I'm gonna do everything that I can to engage my community and to help bring about the unity that we need in the city of Springfield.
So let me make these two announcements before we get off. I need to pull up my calendar, make sure I got the dates correct. But on September 16th is the annual Freedom Fund for the Greater Springfield NAACP. That is a Thursday. It will be virtual again this year. All that information is coming out this week. You'll be able to register for it. Our keynote speaker is the Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant, former Youth and College Director for the National NAACP. So we got a lot of good stuff going on. There will be a presentation by Dr. Faina Stern and AdmiTech around prostate cancer and about the COVID vaccines. So we're going to be giving some good information, going to have a dynamic keynote speaker on the 16th. So put that in your calendar right now. Also on the 8th through the 11th will be the 73rd annual Holy Convocation of the Nova Scotia Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ right here in Springfield, Massachusetts. So put a pin in there right now. Save those dates, okay? And once again, if you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, 11 o'clock a.m. every Sunday morning, 7:30 on Wednesday evening Bible study. Until the next time we talk to you and you talk to us, always remember, God loves you. So do we. Iota Phi Theta. See y'all later. Peace.
Zeta Phi Beta. See y'all later.
We out.